Bret Bielema, don't you change. Don't you ever change.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Illini. My name is Sunny Verma. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Before I get started, this show's brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Speaking of getting started, I just want to get started with this episode because late on Tuesday night, Bret Bielema, basically, I don't know if he's just feeling spicy or what's going on, but drama broke in NCAA football with more allegations coming forth with the Michigan Wolverines. Obviously, we all know the Connor Stallions story. At this point, it's gotten pretty old. I've, for the most part, forgotten about it, but apparently new allegations are coming forth, and the program itself is looking to fight those allegations, just getting that all out of the way. But how this pertains to the University of Illinois, Bret Bielema on Tuesday night, I'm not sure what he's doing. I think he's feeling very confident for reasons I'll tell you in a little bit. Decided to kind of take things into his own hands, and he found a quote of Jim Harbaugh's when he was with the 49ers, and I'm going to quote this directly. Jim Harbaugh, you always want to be above reproach, Harbaugh says, especially when you're good, because you don't want people coming back and saying, oh, they're winning because they're cheating. We want to be above the approach in everything. Play by the rules. If you cheat to win, then you've already lost. So Bret Bielema on Tuesday night was just scrolling Twitter and sees these allegations. By the way, the article from, I believe it was On3 that reported these newfound allegations, Bret Bielema retweeted onto his own account. I love Bret Bielema. So Bret basically quote tweeted that Jim Harbaugh quote with this: "Really? Why did you leave? Was looking forward to playing, but understand why you ran to the NFL. See you in the future and can't wait. Hashtag family." Bret Bielema, and he didn't stop there. Basically, he found another quote about Harbaugh's where basically the gist was, tell the truth always. If you lie, it's over. And Bret Bielema at this point just dropped three laughing emojis. And, he became the talk of late night Tuesday social media. Bret Bielema attacks the University of Michigan, attacks Jim Harbaugh. And I mean, I can understand his hatred, not hatred, but maybe the sour grapes that he has from that 2022 game, which we all saw, a game where Illinois, I believe at the time, was 7-1. One of you guys might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm recording this very late at night. But, it was a game where we lost by essentially a game-winning field goal when there was certain plays which Bret highlighted after the game, which the referees were just not, we feel, very straight and narrow with. But what's come out about that 22 season and the seasons previous to that is this whole Connor Stallions story and how, Michigan may or may not have, again, I don't know the details, quite frankly, I don't care all that much, cheated. And so, Bret, I'm sure this stings a little bit because that Illinois team, again, was 7-1. And I do recall that I had the feeling that the phone call from the Big Ten offices might come in because Michigan was going to be playing Ohio State shortly thereafter. And you want an undefeated Michigan and an undefeated Ohio State team playing, right? You don't want Illinois coming in and messing things up for the Big Ten Conference. But, I've said this before, Bret continues to involve himself in these type of situations because he doesn't have to, when he doesn't have to. But why does he? Simple, because he knows he should. He knows on a Tuesday night, on January 28th, the NCAA football world is talking about Bret Bielema. Tomorrow, when you're logging in onto YouTube, trust me, all your favorite college football stations are all going to be talking about Bret Bielema, and by association, Illinois football. Bret is working the long game. And trust me, I think he's feeling confident right now. If you're a part of the Discord, and you absolutely should be if you're an Illini fan, I already dropped a couple nuggets about who I think could be the next big Illini commit on the football side. And I think it's done. And I added a couple extra tidbits that you won't read anywhere else on any of the, even the premium websites. And keep in mind, this Discord is absolutely free. Bret Bielema right now is rolling. If you paid attention to yesterday's episode, I talk about how he's already on pace to have his best recruiting class that he's ever had at Illinois. Currently, I believe at the time of taping, they're the number 20 in the entire country. And that does not include some of the guys who I think they are going to be announcing in the next couple of weeks. Again, Illinois is off to an absolutely hot start. Most of that coaching staff is going to be returning next year. Senior quarterback, 16 of 22 starters, 18 of 22 starters from the bowl game. Bret's feeling good. Bret knows what he has in his hand, and he knows that he's going to need all the help that he can get. That it doesn't matter if Illinois is one of the best teams in the country next year. He needs to convince a lot of the national media, a lot of the national writers that Illinois is one of the best teams in the country next year. And how he does that is by keeping Illinois in the limelight, keeping Illinois as a program that's being discussed. Trust me, we are all Illinois fans. So we discuss Illinois football ad nauseum for the most part. I know some of you are just basketball fans, and I totally respect that. But those of you who are football fans, we're familiar with Illinois, and we have kind of a inferiority complex where things will always, end up not working out. I've talked about that on the show before too. That's another thing Bret's clearly trying to shed the Illinois reputation of. Bret Bielema, he doesn't care about any of that. Bret knows that, hey, the national narrative probably doesn't really pay attention all that much to Illinois football. He needs to change that. Bret is here to make Illinois into a national program. It's great that we're in the Big Ten. It's great that we're being paid a lot of money in the Big Ten. But Bret Bielema is just coming off of a 10-3 season, a season that they capped off by beating an SEC team who was also 9-3 at the time. And Bret Bielema was the story of that game too, with his, how do I phrase this, antics back and forth with the South Carolina head coach. Bret knows he's building this program for the long term. At first, it was about raising the floor. At first, it was about building the proper relationships with the high school coaches and, just bringing in the talent needed to compete in this conference. Well, he's doing that. We've seen it gradually each and every year as the team that we see on the field looks and passes the eye test. Now the recruiting is starting to pay off, especially coming off of a 10-3 season. Bret's next obligation now is to not just compete in the Big Ten Conference, but maybe have an outside shot at the playoff next year. 12 teams make that playoff. Indiana made it last year. You can usually count on 4 teams from the Big Ten Conference making it into the playoff. Can Illinois be that 4th team? You can pretty much marker in that Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State's going to be returning a lot of players also from last season, are going to be 3 of those teams. But who's going to be that 4th team? Why not Illinois? And I'll tell you why not Illinois. Bret Bielema. Bret Bielema is going to let the entire college football landscape know that Illinois football is here to stay. Super Bowl 59 is here. 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake. Download the app or head to fanduel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's fanduel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of the Super Bowl 59. And welcome back. If you're not following me on all your favorite social medias, shame on you. A kid, of course, but definitely just do a quick search for Locked On Illini, whether it's Facebook, TikTok. I'm even on Blue Sky, Twitter, all of those. Do a quick search for Locked On Illini. I'm already having discourse with a handful of you on Instagram, which I'm also on. Just know that when you send me a message, it is me responding. Nobody else controls those accounts. It is me. So I'd love to get to know a little bit more about the community. So please say hello. Speaking of the community, this is going to be one of the more weird, odd stories I'm going to have on the show as of late. And I feel like I need to address it because a lot of other content creators are addressing it. Sleepers Media did a video on it. I was just on Cody Del Mendo's show, Beyond the Pain, where we discussed this. And this is, of course, the Orange Krush drama that's kind of taken over X as of late. Now, for those of you who are smart and not paying attention to social media, the gist of this drama is that the Krush is no longer the Krush of yesterday, right? Where State Farm Center used to always be one of the hardest places to play because the crowd would get rowdy and raucous. And lately, it seems like, and I'll give credit to the Illini basketball podcast. Those guys kind of were early pointing this out about the Krush and how they could be louder. But more importantly, basically, I believe it was after the Maryland game is when really, with Illinois Twitter, people really started venting and complaining about the Krush, saying, hey, they're not loud enough, that a lot of these people are just standing there and quiet and not shouting, and these are college kids, and the team captains are not doing their due diligence, and they're helping their friends out. And so I feel like I should kind of address this. I'll be honest, I'm not going to address this very much. I'm almost twice the age of these kids. So for me, it's just one of those where Illinois at one point had lost 2 home games in a row. And we were very nervous after that Maryland game, even about that Northwestern game, right? There was a chance we could have lost 3 in a row. And in that Northwestern game, the Krush really weren't all that loud. I pointed that out on my own X account. What needs to be done? I don't know. But Illinois fans, we just watched that game against Michigan State at the Breslin Center, where the Izzone was loud and they were proud. And they really did make an effect on that game. And they do almost on every game. We're tired of hearing it here in Champaign about the Mackey. We know Purdue fans show up. They're loud. It's one of the loudest stadiums in the entire country. Indiana fans even though their team stinks, and I mean capital S, stinks. When that team is good, that crowd is loud. That crowd is one of the toughest places to play college basketball at. I mean, that's kind of the joy of college basketball, right? That's the difference between professional, the NBA leagues, and college, is that usually you have the student body all there practically on the court. It's like your classmates you're cheering on and you're screaming at the top of your lungs. And, some of you have tailgated and you're 19, 21 years old, and you've got all this energy in the world to scream, to yell, to shout. And as of late, the narrative is that when it comes to the Krush, it's just not as loud as it used to be. Now, do I have the solutions for this? No, I don't. That's something for the captains and the university and Josh Whitman themselves to figure out. I do find it funny, and I think you guys will understand when I say this. This could only happen to Illinois. When you talk about the premier college basketball teams in the country, Illinois always seems to have like the most drama associated with it. And if you had told me that X university is going to have attached drama having to do with their student crowd, I'm telling you, most college basketball fans, at least the ones that really paid attention, would have guessed that would have been Illinois. And the fact that it is Illinois, I have no choice but to sit here and laugh. Again, I have no solutions. Do I think it's a problem? Yeah. I do think it's a problem in the sense where I've noticed that the stadium isn't as loud as when I used to attend games years ago or when I had those season tickets. Something needs to change. Maybe, it has to do with the captains and whoever they're allowing in those spots. I don't know. And that's something, as I mentioned, for the university to figure out. But I also think this drama was brought up just because of those two home games we'd lost in a row. This Illinois team is a good basketball team. We're hoping it's a great basketball team. But what we do know is this fan base is rabid. This fan base is as passionate. I'd put the Illini fan base up against any other fan base in the country when it comes to devotion, when it comes to loyalty. And so, in particular, after that Maryland game where the team looked kind of lifeless, and I'll be honest, I started hearing the whispers about the Krush. I think the fan base itself is getting frustrated and trying to point fingers at what needs to be fixed. And we can't always just point the fingers at the five guys on the basketball court, or Brad Underwood's a lightning rod, but sometimes even that gets tiresome. I think Illinois fans right now, just in general, have been involved in this roller coaster up and down season, and they just want things to get right again. And so this Orange Krush drama, I don't think it's going to be settled anytime soon. I'm really looking forward to our next home game, which I believe is Ohio State on Sunday, or it might be, I believe it's Ohio State on Sunday, because the spotlight's going to be on them. The entire Illini, whether it's Twitter, alumni, everyone is going to be looking at the Krush and see how they respond to this, because they're being singled out here. Get louder. We've got a really good basketball team. We need to make the State Farm Center a very tough place to play, because that's what it used to be. This wasn't a place that other teams liked to come to play basketball. And sometimes it is the energy of the crowd, the energy of the student base that energizes the players on the court. Should it be that way? Some of you may say no. I say it's a part of the game. Again, these ultimately are kids. I know it's changed a little bit now. They're being paid, and of course they should be giving it all 24/7. I agree with all of that. But the reality is they are still kids. And I do feel like, growing up, I loved watching college basketball because I loved watching, Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium, Duke against North Carolina, the crowds either way, feeling like they're on the floor. I genuinely feel like, especially with the kids being so young that are playing, that has an effect on the game itself. So let's bring that home court advantage back to Champaign. What's the solution? I have no idea. But I know that Illini Nation's going to figure it out. And that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. Again, if you haven't joined all the social medias, if you're not in the Discord, I dropped a nugget in the Discord, which I mentioned before. You're not going to find anywhere else. And, I'm very fortunate to know some of the people I do. I don't give out crystal balls, but this particular recruitment, I think it's going to be huge news. Something that might be the biggest news in Illini football recruiting in recent memory. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm able to add a couple tidbits that you're not going to find on any of the premium websites. So again, if you don't mind, make sure you hit that like button here. We just passed 2,000 subs, and we're on our way to 2,100. We might actually hit 2,100 in the next week or two. So if you're not subscribed already, please consider doing so. Thank you for making Locked On Illini your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Big Ten Podcast. Craig Shimon puts the Big Ten first when everyone else overlooks it. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to on podcasts. Got action-packed week ready for you. I'm still going to be previewing Nebraska. We'll be previewing Ohio State. And, this is 2 days in a row Bret Bielema's got me making videos on him. Who knows what crazy antics that guy's going to put me on the rest of the week, Bob. But all I know is just make sure you're subscribed to this channel and you won't miss a minute. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.